If you've used Claude to write a blog post and then probably spent the next 45 minutes editing it, stripping out phrases like it's worth noting and in today's landscape, and delve into fixing sentences that are technically correct, but they sound like they were assembled rather than written, well, this video is for you, my friends. That editing problem is actually not a prompting problem, so writing a better prompt won't make Claude stop sounding like Claude. What changes it is rather running the right workflow. And in today's episode, that's exactly what we're going to cover. So today's episode covers the full content writing workflow for Claude. So, two skills, one demo, start to finish. You're going to see a blog post go from a topic brief to a published ready human sounding Word document. The whole thing probably takes about 15 minutes, and the two skills that we're going to focus on today are Humaniser and Docx. So, Humaniser is a skill which strips away AI of its writing patterns, especially in your copy. This was created by somebody by the name of Blader, and it's on the internet. So you can go Google Blader Humaniser and you'll be able to find the first link. I think it's a GitHub link to add this skill into your Claude. And the Docx skill is actually the skill which takes your finished content and produces a properly formatted Word document that you can send directly to your client or editor. We're using both of them today and in the order that I just mentioned on the same piece of content. So let's get into it. All right. Before I get into the demo and the practical side of things, I want to actually spend 2 minutes naming the problem specifically. Because most people know AI copy sounds off, right? But they can't always tell why. And knowing why makes everything that follows make so much more sense. So there are four patterns that show up in almost every piece of AI generated copy. Once you can name them, you'll probably spot them in 3 seconds. So if you look towards here, the first is vocabulary. So there are a set of words and phrases that AI uses constantly, and almost no human writer does. Whether it's writing something like delve into, it is worth noting. X underscores Y in today's rapidly evolving landscape, right? Instead of writing in today's landscape or something like pivotal moment. If you see any of these, you're probably looking at an AI copy, so be aware of that. Next is sentence rhythm. So, what exactly is sentence rhythm? Well, the easiest way to understand this is actually this graphic that was given by Gary Provost in his 100 Ways to Improve Your Writing. This is an excerpt for that. From that, and if you see here, if you read a paragraph of AI writing and count the sentence lengths, right? They're almost identical, whether it's 8 words, 9 words, 10 words, 8 words. Well, you can see it something like this. So, this is how the excerpt goes, right? This sentence has 5 words, here are 5 more words. 5 word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous listening to what is happening. The writing is getting boring, the sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record, the ear demands some variety. You see how monotonous that can get, right? But you know how actually humans write? Human writing varies. A short, sharp sentence may be followed by a longer one that takes its time getting somewhere, maybe changes in directions, pathway through lands differently than you expected, right? And AI writing is metronomic. So that's what makes it feel very flat, even when the information is right. If you see here, what Gary Provost says is now listen, I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music. The writing sings. It has a pleasant rhythm, a lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences and I use sentences of medium length. And sometimes, when I am certain the reader is rested, I will engage him with a sentence of considerable length, a sentence that burns with energy and builds with all the impetus of a crescendo, the roll of the drums, the crash of the cymbals, sounds that say, listen to this, it is important. So, write with a combination of short, medium, and long sentences. Create a sound that pleases the reader's ears. Don't just write words, write music. Well, it's a brilliant piece of writing, but I think you understood what sentence rhythm is from this. Now, the third aspect that AI covers is actually inflation, right? So, what does that mean? AI has a specific habit of ending paragraphs by stating that whatever it just said is important. So this underscores the significance of X for brands seeking to Y. The sentence adds no new information. It just points all the it just points at the previous sentence and says that that sentence mattered. See, humans don't need to write like that, right? We trust the reader to decide what mattered and what did not matter. And the fourth rule in this entire fiasco is actually the rule of three. Now, AI defaults to listing things in groups of three, right? So, whether it's apple, bananas, oranges, cars, bikes, and trucks, eating, drinking, dancing, everything, right? So, without variation, it just goes always in a rule of three. You'll notice it when you're reading a piece, and every single point comes across in a trio. So, that's usually actually AI finding its comfortable pattern rather than a writer making a structural choice. Um, Now that we understand the background, right? The humanizer skill by a blader is actually trained specifically to catch all four of these. It's not a style preference tweak, rather, it's a systematic pass on a documented list of AI writing patterns. It's a moment I'll show you where and how to do it. So, in a moment, I'll show you exactly what it does to a real piece of copy. So, let's get into it now. All right. So you can see here I'm going to use the same brand as Orenda last time, the one that we've used across our series. And I'm going to ask Claude, this is standard chat interface, to write a blog post. So same brand, and I'm going to ask to write an article that's aimed at marketing managers at D2C. So if you see that the audience that's marked here is marketing managers at D2C brands, the tone that I want to pick is authoritative, and it should be titled 5 Reasons Why D2C Skincare Brands Are Losing Customers in Their 30s and What to Fix. Let it run. This will rightly do it. So right now it's picking up my content writer skill. So this is a skill that I had developed to write content, right? To write exactly, what I want and how I want it. So it's writing it from that perspective. Now, let it's quickly generated the post, and you can see it here. So it's given 5 exact points to fix. So your product claims don't scale with maturity. Your pricing strategy assumes loyalty that doesn't exist. You're not building this. Your content strategy is aging like a taboo. You're chasing TikTok trends instead of building a habit. And it quotes a real problem, right? All of this again is written using the content writer skill that I have, but this is still not humanized. So, how will I use the humanizer, right? So, the humanizer skill is actually not going to change the structure of the entire blog that's given to me. It's going to only change the language. So, let me do one thing quickly, invoke the humanizer skill and say humanize this blog for me. So now it's going to humanize this blog and it's going to understand what all is required to be rewritten. And now let's quickly see the difference between the two of them, and we'll understand this by placing them on a Word doc. So I'll quickly do that and then I will explain it to you, right? So first it's taken the entire part of the rewrite, and then it says what obviously makes the below so obviously generated. So words like this isn't random, it's systemic. The artificial triplet rhythm, random, systemic, expensive. That feels constructed rather than discovered. It's costing you serious money. It's a vague threat to maintain engagement. Here's where you're falling, right? A bulleted list setup. And fix it feels like formulaic. The significance aspect that we talked about, right? The overestimation. The entire value proposition breaks down overestimated significance. Even heavy use of M dashes, short, punchy. So basically, it tells you what all is the problem, and how to fix it, and then it fixes it for you. So it starts off by saying your acquisition engine works. You're pulling in 22-year-olds with Instagram ads about dewy skin and 0.5% retinol, but somewhere between year 1 and year 3, they're gone. The customers who found you at 25 don't come back at 30. And unlike losing them to a competitor, this one's quiet. They just stop showing up. It's predictable and it's expensive. The D2C model was built for fast product cycles. Trends come and go, people swap formulas constantly, novelty drives purchases. Then your customer turns 30 and the whole setup stops working. She's not chasing the next viral serum, she wants something that actually works and it won't deliver it. She'll find someone who will. So once you don't deliver it, she'll find someone who will. And then after that, it gives an entire thing that's already humanized. It will tell you what kind of changes it made as well. So that's how you use the humanizer skill. And this was just a run through of how you can use the humanizer skill. Now, let's turn this copy into something that someone can actually open. So, let's get on with the next segment, that is using the Docx skill. Okay, back to this now. Now we're going to make this into a doc. So I'm going to quickly create this into a properly formatted doc for me. And I'm going to save this here. And now it's going to basically take this entire thing. It's going to read the docx skill to understand Word document formatting best practices and create the Word document for me. Now, there is, maybe some kind of formatting notes that you would want to add. I have not added those yet. At this stage, actually, I should have ideally done that. So, how about we go back here and write some formatting notes? So, let's say blog post format H1 for the article title. Let's say H2 for each of the five section headings. Body text for everything else, and full article content. Okay. There are some typos in this, but please bear with me. But now it's going to create an entire thing that's properly formatted with the blog post using the docx library. It's going to use each and everything that is required, and it's also going to take reference of the little, notes that you have added. So I've added a brief formatting note, right? And that's all it needs. So let's wait till it's generated and let's see how it turns out. All right, folks, you see this? This is what it is. Now I have the entire blog in a docx file that's properly formatted with each and everything. So this is in H1, the 5 D2C brands. The 5 sections, as you can see, is H2 heading. You can see the document outline on the left if you're in Word. And the body text is clean throughout. There's consistent spacing. There's no inherited, formatting issues from pasting into a blank document. Now, if I send this to a client or a brand team today, right, this is ready. This is the final read through, maybe 1 or 2 tweaks, and then directly goes out. So, from a brief that was here, that is, I want to just write a blog post, all the way up till here, what we've done is create an output that is a docx file, right? So now, how do I apply this to my ecosystem? Is I'm going to help you create actually a content writer skill. Now, if you see here, I already have a skill that's a content writer. So this skill drafts full-length marketing and business content specifically for posts, articles, etc. Now, let's say I did not have that skill, right? So how can I acquire this skill? Well, there are two ways to go about it. One is to search for it online, and the second is to develop it yourself. So let's say I use something like a skill creator, and I'm going to ask it to write content for, let's say, a particular task. So I want to create, let's say, help me create a skill that writes blogs on, let's say, makeup products. That's the industries I work in, right? On makeup products as a D2C brand. Okay, so now it's going to invoke the skill creator skill, and it's going to help me make a skill for this particular thing. So let's say writing makeup product blogs. Let me first upload and understand the best approach. Now they already have this, and now it's going to ask me some clarifying questions, right? So let's quickly answer the clarifying questions. The first question that it's going to ask me is, what is my primary use, right? Whether it's to drive SEO traffic, whether it's to build brand authority or product education. Let's say I am going to look at product education, right? How much product research or context should the skill assume Claude has? Should it product from your actual product data or work generically for any more product you name? Let's say I will go here, work generically, and I want it to be medium form, right? So now I have given it all the necessary inputs and the parameters that it requires to build the skill, and now it's going to ask me some more questions about my brand voice. So let's say I want to make this inclusive and empowering, and I want to also make this more step by step, right? And the product page copy should be more of an educational blog of how to actually use the product rather than make it outrightly, you know, outrightly in your face to buy the product and very salesy. Now, what's my preferred blog structure? Well, should it be lean, direct, or include context sections? Let's say I want a hook, and yeah, as simple as that. And yes, always include SEO. And should be the assumption that is this? Yeah. So I've just like picked up some things, and now it's going to draft my D2C blog skills, product blog skill like this. And you can see what it's actually doing, right? If I open that up, and while this is going on here, let me quickly get back to this once it's done. Okay, so if you see, it's also doing some test prompts on the skill. So it's taken some test cases, it's verifying if the skill is actually readable, and it's taken a test prompt as a foundation, and now it's actually writing it of how to apply foundation on your face. So it says skin blurring foundation, a step-by-step guide. This is the meta description, this is the target keyword, what it does actually, etc. And now it's also doing a skill summary and quality assessment of whether the blog that it wrote is actually good or not, and if it does something that's important in terms of SEO or not. And once it's done, it's actually basically testing out all the different products that can be used. So it's also testing it out on a different product type. But this is how you make a skill that's particularly for, let's say, your use case. So here I have taken the use case of makeup products. The one before that, I had taken the use case of skincare. You can use it for any segment that you're in. And this is how to make this more concrete rather than just something you watched, right? So I want you to find a use case in your particular brand where you have to do a lot of writing. So you find that one piece of AI generated copy that you've already edited this week, something you ran through Claude and then manually cleaned it up. You find the original draft and the end draft, and then you can run that original through the Humaniser and compare the output of what you actually understood, what you edited yourself, and what you needed the humanizer to edit for you, and compare both of them. So, meanwhile, I've seen the makeup blog editor is ready, and it's given each and everything checklist, when to use it, when not to use it, right? The kind of iterations required, why it feels off, the quality checklist, etc. Everything is ready. Now you can simply save the skill. I'm not going to save the skill because obviously I am not using it for any particular product, because I don't have a makeup company. But if I were to, I would probably look at this practical skill. So now we've understood how to create a skill that is related to content writing, how I can use Blader's Humanizer and the Docx skill to get outputs that are actually helpful. So this is what I want you to do this week, right? So find a piece of AI generated copy that you probably have edited this week, right? Something you ran through Claude and then manually cleaned up. I want you to find the original draft before the edits, run that original through the humanizer, and then compare the output of what the humanizer skill did to your content and what you have edited yourself. That comparison in itself should show you more about what the skill actually does for you, anything than anything that I have showed in this demo, right? So you've seen yourself where it catches things that you probably caught, you've probably see things it catches that you would have missed, and you'll get a feel for where it still needs a human eye on top of it, because it does sometimes, and truly it does. So a quick decision rule on when to add the doc step is, if the copy is going directly into a CMS or a content platform, the humanizer alone is enough, right? But if a copy needs to travel as a file to, let's say, a client, an editor, a brand team, anyone outside your own system, then that's when you chain in the docx on the end. So that's 4 extra minutes. And you have a proper document out. And if your team works with branded templates, a specific heading structure, a logo in the header, a format your agency or client expects, that can also be built into a custom docx skill. And the last episode of that series will cover that. So it's worth knowing, and it's completely possible. So, yes, that's for the last video. And one question for the comments today. So, what does your editing process actually look like after Claude generates something? Specifically, what are you mostly fixing? Is it the vocabulary, the AI words? Is it structure? Is it something more like tone or point of view where the information is right, but it doesn't sound like your brand's voice? I'm asking you because those are 3 different problems and they have 3 different solutions. And understanding which one is most common is going to shape what I cover later in this series. So, the next episode is going to be for social media managers. I'm going to look at creating a caption generator and a reel script generator. So, one brief, we'll look at creating 4 skill that can make that one brief accessible for 4 platforms, that to under 10 minutes. That's as for episode 4, and I'll link it in the description once it's out. So, see you in the next one, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye bye.